Babylon makes the rules. Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Negus coming to you today from deep in the heart of the belly of the beast, better known as Babylon, Des Moines, Iowa. This is where we are today. This is a new podcast that I'm doing here in Des Moines. My name is Negus Imhotep. I'm here today. I happen to be a doctor of business administration. I've done research on the carceral population of the state of Iowa. And today I'm coming to bring some information to you that might be extremely informative and thought-provoking in a sense. So I'm here today to get this thing started, and it's called Babylon Makes the Rules. Babylon makes the rules. I'm here today, and the topic that I want to deal with today is slavery by a new name, and it's called Mass Incarceration. Slavery by a new name. Today in the United States, 72% of the federal inmate population in this country happens to be African American and Latinx. 72% of the population, when this group doesn't represent that many here in this country. There's some issues that have to be addressed when you look at it, because the people of African American descent represent 13% of the population here of this country, yet they represent 41% of the people that are incarcerated. Why is this, is the question. I look back at a historical timeline and see why the conditions are the way they are today. Historically, from the foundation, it was never intended for people of African descent to have the opportunity to feel and live in and receive the benefits of white society. Why I say that? Because it was a law that was created here in this country, and 1638 was the year that it was created. It was called the exclusionary edict, and it was stated that this is the reason why some people today still of that same population represent such a high percentage of people who remain incarcerated. As we say, that the United States is the global leader of the incarcerated population on this planet. The United States represents roughly 5% of the global population, yet the prison population globally, the United States owns 25% of all people who are incarcerated in this country. So that's the problem. If you notice and you look at the social media and look at the media on news, you see the majority of the television shows that you watch on TV are either Law and Order, healthcare, or maybe even Bang Bang Shoot 'em Up, CSI, NCIS, and all the rest. So it's something that's being conditioned in the minds of the people because it's a continual thing that we see with the eye. So I'm looking at this and looking at how structural racism affects everybody. People who have been, who you would call dominant culture, are doing what's necessary to maintain that. After a group of people have been in power for over 400 years, that they would feel some supremacy. They should. If you have all the wealth and you have all the means of obtaining wealth, yeah, you should feel that way. If you have the means to militarily take out a group of people at the blink of an eye, yeah, you should feel superior. So structural racism is what it is today. As a youth, I can go back and think about a time in 1964 when the Civil Rights Act, Title VII, was ratified, which was supposed to end employment discrimination in this country. To this day, employment discrimination still occurs, and we know that's a fact. So laws created by men mean nothing unless they're enforced. You know, we're talking about mass incarceration. Do you know today that the collateral consequence of being an individual with a criminal record, the United States government has created over 48,000 plus legal sanctions to deter the mobility of anyone who's ever been released from prison. You get opportunities are taken away from you for housing, for employment, for education, because if you're labeled and been marked with that social discredit as being someone with a felony record, they become a liability to society. Yet, we know that historically there's been some social economic issues that's never been addressed. After the time of Reconstruction in the 1860s, you see that the abolition of slavery and the work that was supposed to be done through Reconstruction never got finished. You can go back as far as the 1875, the Freedmen's Bank that was created by people who were once enslaved. After 10 years, they had black people had put over $10 million in that bank in 1875. And the federal government said that the bank was insolvent because bank owners was giving loans to white people, and black people who was putting money in the bank couldn't get money out. So there's a day that this country has to come to realize and come to grips that there's going to be a day of reckoning. And there's a need to fess up to what you've done, and to the point to think about transitional justice. There's a day coming there because there is a need. We see other cities around this country right now giving reparations to blacks because of slavery. And I'm here in the center of Iowa, the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa. 90% white, a black man with dreadlocks talking to you in a podcast about discrimination and what goes on here in the state of Iowa, and just like it goes on anywhere else around the country. So I'm here to tell you, and I'm here as an advocate for people who have been incarcerated. Why can I speak about this? This is what I did my research on. The title of my dissertation that I wrote last year, on this day, I completed my oral defense. On the March the 31st, 2022, I completed my oral defense to become Dr. Negus Imhotep, because I met all the requirements needed. On that same day is the day of my father's birthday. My father was born on the 31st of March, 1933, so this is a special day for me. I'm happy to be here on this podcast, but I'm here to tell you some things that need to be addressed within this society. The global incarceration is a major problem. We see places like in Guatemala and other places right now in the Central America where there's an overdub of people being incarcerated. I know there are things going on, but it looks like we live on a police planet. We need to come to one day to realize that we need to learn how to deal with each other. I was talking about Iowa. If I'm looking at Iowa right now, Iowa's population, we have roughly 3.4 million people in Iowa. The people of African descent and African Americans represent 4% of the entire population of the state. Yet, if we look at the prison population of the state, the 4% of blacks represent 25.6% of the people that are incarcerated in this state. And that's just saying 1 out of every 4 person that's locked up in Iowa is black. It's something to address, something to think about. I look at things from a historical perspective. Some people are concerned about this term that they're scared of called critical race theory. My theoretical framework for my dissertation was the critical race theory. And it's not taught in elementary. It's not taught in middle school. It's not taught in high school. The critical race theory is a graduate school degree type theory that individuals who looking at business, education, law, or whatever looks and sees that racism is entangled in every law that was created in this country. Dr. Derek Bell in 1978 or 79, he came up with the critical race theory. Dr. Derek Bell was a law professor at Harvard University, and he was the first tenured law professor there at Harvard University. And he looked and he said the laws, after just researching, and you look at the laws were based on race. That's why the haves, and the have-nots, have not. So the critical race theory opens up your mind to look at things from a different lens, and instead of just a Eurocentric lens. It wants you to think Eurocentrically, or to think in the Western mindset, but still, why the West? What's wrong with the East, or the South, or the North? But still, we see here in this in this day, people are divisive, people are concerned, but mass incarceration is one of the reasons why a lot of things that are occurring in our communities today, with the absence of fathers and mothers, because people have been locked up and taken away for a long time, and their children are left here. You have inappropriate behaviors, because sometimes kids do need both parents. Sometimes one is enough, but yet, it could reduce some issues that's going on. But the right now, the way the nation looks at it is that it is a large sum of income that the state gets annually. But it's crazy when you look at it, what it costs to hold one person in prison in the state of Iowa. It costs you roughly each taxpayer pays roughly $34,500 a year to take care of a person that's locked up. People who had nonviolent issues or nonviolent transgressions should have the opportunity to make a living, come out of what's going on, and come out and be a productive citizen in society, which would increase the tax base for the country. But people are more concerned about holding a group of people down. Mass incarceration is probably one of the worst disasters this nation has seen in the industrial age. Things had to be done, but we're here. My research is what I see. I look and through my research methodology and design and looking at what's going on in the world and what's going on in the criminal, I can't call it criminal justice system. I'm going to call it the criminal punishment system. Has so many people entangled to where it's hurting the society as a whole. So it's quite an issue. I know from the research that I've done, the qualitative research that I did was basically looking at different ways that how different occasions with employers, how did they feel? Were they ready when they went in? While you were going through a reentry program, did anyone ever tell you about the issue of employment discrimination when you go in to find a job? And from my research, I saw that the vast majority of the men that I researched stated that they never had any help or any classes or any type of lectures on anything of that nature. It was just that when you're out of prison, go get a job. Yet there's barriers. There's transportation. Individuals have to deal with housing. People have to look at areas where people can work in. Some places people can work, some people can't. So it's very interesting to look and see how society just throws people out and use cookie cutter type of methods to try to reach people that are in a dire need for assistance. It's hard for anyone to survive in a society without resources. So it's hard for them to have the opportunity to make some of the big opportunities. Not all. There's many that can make it through and do well, but there's an awful lot that's left behind that needs help. Somebody that needs assistance and showing them how to be a productive person in this society rather than being a liability. Mass incarceration is a problem. I talked for a while, and now I think I'm about through. I was talking about this issue, and I hope if you listen to it, and if it's something that may have touched you or made you think, I've got a lot of information that I can give. I'm just talking off the top of my head right now, enjoying myself, and happy that this is a first-time event for me, opening up a new era in mass media. Babylon makes the rules. I'm coming here to tell y'all, and I'm coming here to tell y'all I got some information that is empirically correct. You can look for yourself and find out for yourself. It's a time that we're living in right now. People are talking about banning books. So I suggest to you, if you are not a reader, become one. If you can't read, at least get an audio book. Listen to it. Somebody read. So you know what's going on. Know something about yourself. Know something about your surroundings. Know something about how you can make your way. There is a way out. There is help. And we have to look within ourselves. If we do that, we'll do well. I hope everybody have a good one. And good night.